Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Caribbean nations flagged by the OECD for their citizenship and residence schemes. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Wednesday, October 7th from the CMC News Center in Bridgetown. I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, has put 9 Caribbean nations on a list of 21 countries offering so-called golden passports or visas that are deemed a threat to efforts to combat tax evasion. Those with citizenship by investment programs such as Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Lucia are on the list, while the Bahamas and Montserrat are named for their economic residency, the Turks and Caicos Islands for its permanent residence certificate, and Barbados for its special entry and residence permit. The Paris-based organization released the list on Tuesday after analyzing residence and citizenship schemes operated by 100 countries. The OECD said while residence and citizenship by investment schemes allow individuals to obtain citizenship or residence rights for perfectly legitimate reasons, they can also be potentially misused to hide assets offshore. In particular, it said, identification cards, residence permits, and other documentation obtained through these schemes can potentially be used to misrepresent an individual's jurisdiction of tax residence and to endanger the proper operation of the OECD G20 Common Reporting Standard due diligence procedures. Meantime, both Barbados and the Bahamas governments are insisting that the list is not a blacklist, and reports stating that it is are false and misleading. A statement from the Ministry of Finance in the Bahamas on Wednesday said the characterization of the list as such is completely inaccurate, as the Bahamas is under no obligation to take any measures to change its investment schemes. It added that representatives of the Ministry of Finance, who are currently attending meetings in Paris, met with the head of the OECD International Cooperation and Tax Administration Division, which published the report. And Barbados' International Business and Industry Minister Ronald Toppin said in a statement on Wednesday that the report simply provides practical guidance to financial institutions on how to carry out enhanced due diligence on clients that are citizens or residents of the countries with citizenship or residency programs. In other news, in Trinidad and Tobago, angry and fed-up prison officers on Wednesday threatened to walk off the job and invited the government to run the prisons, following the murder of another one of their own. 38-year-old Darren Francis, attached to the maximum security prison in Aruca, was shot in his head by an unknown assailant at his home in the early hours of the morning. At a news conference where he was flanked by several prison officers, President of the Prison Officers Association, Ciron Richards, says he's tired of waiting for action by the state. During the news conference, several prison officers shouted that at least 5 of their colleagues had been killed in the past year. Other members of the association also exclaimed from behind, threatening to walk off the job. And Richards says the association is prepared to support any officer who decides to follow through.
Imagine that other officers were shot at today, right? So robbing a cigarette truck in Trinidad and Tobago is carrying more weight than the killings of prison officers. That is what is happening. That is what's happening in Trinidad and Tobago. We will leave this job. We will leave this job. Officers asking for visa. Officers want to leave this job. We're ready to leave. Dr. Keith Rowley, we're ready to leave. Bring you and your cabinet and come and man that prison. Come and man the prison, you and the cabinet. You ready to leave this job? You ready to leave this job? Right? We have nothing more to say to the state. There's no ultimatum, we are leaving. Officers who walk off the job, you all have our fullest support. Our fullest support. Because this job is just about now, who's next? That is what it's about. Who is next?
5 in 1 year.
And you have an impotent state playing us game.
Earlier in a statement expressing condolences to the family, friends and colleagues of the deceased prison officer, National Security Minister Stuart Young said the government is committed to the men and women in the prison service. But Richards, saying that the latest murder was the straw that broke the camel's back, took the minister and Police Commissioner Gary Griffith to task.
They don't care about us. Gary Griffith talked about the task force. With the task force. Where's the pushback? Where's the pushback? Man, to hell with the state and to hell with the prison service. They don't care about us. They don't care about us. They don't care about us. Right? A cigarette chuck are more valued than prison officers' lives. To hell with them. To hell with them. Right? That is the end of this press conference.
Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he will not put a timeline on the 3 states of public emergency in effect on various parts of the island. In fact, he's promising that more zones of special operations, ZOSOs, will soon be set up, even as the opposition has been complaining about the indefinite extensions of the crime-fighting measures. Holness says the ZOSOs in operation are being viewed as test cases, and he says the government will not give up its strategic advantage by saying when they will end. All this as the Parliament approved an extension to the state of emergency in St. James until January next year. We get more in this TVJ News report.
Season is almost upon us, but things will be a lot different in St. James. This as Parliament voted to extend the zone of special operations in Mount Salem for the next 60 days, while the state of emergency will be extended to January 31, 2019. At the end of a lengthy debate, 47 MPs voted in the affirmative, 16 were absent. The extension means that the random searches will continue and the curfews will remain in place, which led one MP to ask this question.
Is there any plan, any provision for the Christmas season? Is there going to be a grand marketing?
Yes, we have started the contemplation of how we will handle the commercial districts in the Christmas period. So to ensure that not just the ability of persons to observe the birth of Christ in the traditional ways, but the commerce that surrounds that season as well, that is not impeded.
In making his case for the extension, Prime Minister Andrew Holness again maintained that the security measures are working. He pointed to the 53% decline in murders and 67% reduction in shootings recorded in the St. James Police Division from January 1 to October 11 this year. According to him, for the same period last year, there were 234 murders. To date, that figure is 77. He also defended that the police presence is not the only reason for the improvement. As for Mount Salem, no murders have been recorded for the period, but questions were raised about the social intervention programs.
Do you need a ZOZO to have rodent control in a community? No. Do you need a ZOZO to be able to remove zinc fences? Has been a program introduced years ago.
I want you to think a little deeper. That there are communities in which you cannot clean the drain because you have to go through the dun. There are, but look at that argument. Look at that response.
As it relates to the other zones of special operations,
I remember the member from Northwest St. James stood up and says, yes, we're going to fix it one zone at a time. Subsequently, the zone has been abandoned.
There are more zones coming, right? So it's not the intention to just rely on SOEs. There are more zones coming, but because the engagement is not short-term, they have to be planned properly. And we don't want to go and implement a ZOZO that is not adequately funded, where we know where we're going with it, and adequately resourced in terms of manpower.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, members of the Haitian president's security detail wounded in a shootout. The details of that story when we return.
How much I must pay?
No, you can't do it like that. You'll have to take some of the things out of the suitcases and put in a box or something.
You know, you're a wicked woman. A wicked fat woman.
Do you want a boxer?
Box me now? You think say you're helping me strike me? Try a box.
Barbados, it's time to laugh again. Get yourselves ready for the Caribbean's funniest men and women. Fast Promotions annual Caribbean Comedy Explosion. Saturday, October 27th, Sir Garfield Sobers Gymnasium, 8 p.m. Get your early bird tickets now and pay $60 before all are sold out at ticketlinks.com. All Ticket Links outlets nationwide. Jeans Inc. Sheraton, CS Pharmacy, Rubis Waldy, and Eddie Supermarket, Spikestown.
I come in here as a loner. I know you spot me from far.
It's one of the most anticipated events of the year. November 4, get ready for Latin Festival at Free Lawn starting at 3 p.m. Featuring out of Puerto Rico, Sun Divas. Out of Sweet Sugar Sonic St. Kitts, DJ Elvis. From Jamaica, Romaine Virgo. And out of Dominican Republic, El Alpha El Jefe. Get your tickets now at Cajola Cristata Limited, online at latinfestival.net. Avalon Lab in the Sands Complex for only $35 EC until October 28 and $55 after. At Uncle Fats, you can get your VIP tickets for only $320 EC until October 15 and $350 after. Limited amount available. Save the date, November 4. Get ready for Latin Fiesta. Sponsored by Cajola Cristata, Hobson Enterprise, St. Kitts Marriott Resort, Caribbean Cinemas, Stag, and Mojitos La Casa de Albano.
Preview. Shower in the morning, shower in the evening, or take a fresh at night. Enjoy a warm shower with Solar Dynamics, you'll feel alright. Comfort, safety, temperature guaranteed. Long service, fulfilling your every need. Take a shower in comfort, no more ups with water touch you. Solar Dynamics is the best for you. Save on electricity, be environmentally friendly. Solar Dynamics is the one for you.
We continue in Haiti, where two members of the security team of President Jovenel Moïse were wounded as they exchanged gunfire with unidentified gunmen on Wednesday during a ceremony commemorating the 212th anniversary of the assassination of Emperor Jean-Jacques Dessalines. The incident occurred while President Moïse was laying a floral wreath in memory of the father of the country. He was taken away by air unharmed to another area. During the shooting, two of the security officers of the National Palace General Security Unit were wounded. Unconfirmed reports said that at least 3 other people were injured. Earlier, the authorities had announced a temporary ban on the carrying of firearms throughout the country. The Justice and Public Security Minister said the ban would remain in effect until Thursday at midnight. He said law enforcement and judicial authorities would be the only ones allowed to travel with their regulatory and service weapons during this period. The authorities also called on private security agencies to adopt the temporary ban to prevent their staff from traveling with service weapons. The move came as Haitians took to the streets to protest several issues such as the use of Petrocaribe funds, the cost of living, the minimum wage, the reform of the Constitution, as well as the frequent overseas visits of President Moïse. A deputy superintendent of police in Guyana has been slapped with charges of drunk driving and causing death by dangerous driving. We get the details in this HGP Nightly News report.
Deputy Superintendent of Police Patrick Todd was on Tuesday arraigned before Magistrate Rochelle Liverpool at the Lenora Magistrates Court. The officer in civilian clothing appeared remorseful after he left the courtroom. It is alleged that on September 15, the 53-year-old senior officer drove in a manner dangerous to the public and caused the death of 64-year-old Conrad Allen. He denied the allegation. The police also stated that on the same day, he was found to be over the legal limit of alcohol consumption. He also denied that allegation. Representing Todd was attorney-at-law Dexter Todd, who made an application for reasonable bail. He added that his client is the father of 4 and is expecting another child soon. After hearing submissions, Magistrate Liverpool released Todd on $200,000 bail and adjourned the matter until November 12. Todd told police that on the night of the incident, he suddenly felt an impact and upon investigation, saw Allen lying injured on the bridge. The victim was rushed to Georgetown Public Hospital but was pronounced dead on arrival.
This week in Newsline Business, we hear of projections that Barbados' credit rating, hit by several downgrades in recent times, will soon be on the rise again.
Newsline Business is brought to you by Solar Dynamics.
"22. That's the number of downgrades. Government's senior technical advisor, Dr. Kevin Greenidge, says Barbados' credit rating has suffered over the past few years. But he's confident there will be a turnaround in the situation very soon. He's projecting credit ratings will start rising by the end of 2018. The Barbadian economist, who has been seconded from the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, as a senior economic advisor to the government in his homeland, made the prediction as he provided an update on the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation BERT plan on Tuesday.
The sentiment is, and I can tell you, I believe before the end of the year, you will see us go a notch. That investment grade going to start to go back up. And when you choose investors looking to invest, they look at the grade, Barbados going to be right there to invest in Barbados. So I don't have that as a major concern.
There are some who believe that investors will be more cautious in the future about putting their money in government instruments, but Greenidge has high hopes that won't be the case.
Countries before Barbados, countries after Barbados restructure their debt. At some point in time, if you don't pursue proper policies, the fundamentals will erode your ability to pay. In all of those cases, people eventually, confidence return, and people eventually invest in those in government again. Because when you are going to make an investment decision, now emotions are high, but when you go make an investment decision, you look at fundamentals. You look at the ability of the person you're investing in to repay, right? And over time, this Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Program will restore and correct all the fundamentals that we existed before. You can repay in the past because the debt was too high. Your debt was too high because you're running fiscal balances averaging 7.5%. So my thing to you is that confidence is being restored. Just as the international communities investing, locals will find it necessary because the excess income and wealth they have to start to invest again.
Overall, Greenidge is confident that if the BERT plan, which has been endorsed by the IMF, is implemented within the time frame set out, it will get the country back on track.
Newsline Business was brought to you by Solar Dynamics.
Still to come in Caribbean Newsline, the latest sport.
This hurricane tip comes to you, compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. Make an emergency communications plan for your family. What to do, where to go, how to reconnect.
Shower in the evening or take a fresh at night. Enjoy a warm shower with Solar Dynamics, you'll feel alright. Comfort, safety, take a shower in comfort. No more upstream water touch you. Solar Dynamics is the best for you. Save on electricity, be environmentally friendly. Solar Dynamics is the one for you.
Dominica's World Creole Music Festival in 2018, October 26, 27, 28 at the Windsor Park Stadium in the capital city, Roseau. 3 nights, over 8 genres, 40 years of independence, 1 location, Dominica, the 20th edition of Dominica's World Creole Music Festival. For more information, like our Facebook page, Dominica Festivals. Visit our website, www.dominicafestivals.com for all travel, accommodation, and ticketing details. My love, my home, my Dominica. Building a resilient nation. See you there! Proudly sponsored by the Government of Dominica and Discover Dominica Authority.
Continuing with sports now, West Indies will have to again contend with second test tormentor Umesh Yadav after the fiery pacer was called up to replace Shardul Thakur for the first 2 one-day internationals of the 5-match series starting Sunday in Guwahati. Yadav grabbed 10 wickets in the last weekend's test in Hyderabad as India trounced West Indies by 10 wickets to complete a 2-0 series sweep. Thakur pulled up early in the first innings after sending down just 10 deliveries on his test debut and has since been diagnosed with a groin injury. The 30-year-old Yadav has already played 73 ODIs, taking 105 wickets at an average of 32. His last appearance came last July against England at Lord's. Windies face a tough task in the series, having not won an ODI series against India in 12 years or claimed the series win on Indian soil in nearly 2 decades. Left-handers Jonathan Carter and Shane Mosley struck half-centuries as Barbados Pride rattled off their 3rd straight victory to move into semi-final contention in the regional Super 50 on Tuesday. Asked to chase a modest 213 at 3W's Oval, Pride overcame a few hiccups to reach their target in the 36th over, beating USA Cricket by 4 wickets to close in on 2nd place in Group B, held by Combined Campuses and Colleges Marooners. Both opener Mosley and Carter top scored with 60, while captain Shamar Brooks chipped in with 35, as Pride got their final 4 bid back on course after a shaky start to their preliminary campaign. USA Cricket had earlier rallied to 212 for 8 off their 50 overs on the back of opener Monank Patel's 80 and 40 from Alex Amsterdam. Left-arm seamer Dominic Drakes claimed 4 for 44 to lead the Pride attack, while veteran left-arm spinner Suleiman Ben conjured up a stingy 10-over spell, which yielded 2 wickets for 27 runs. Meanwhile, Jermaine Blackwood struck his 2nd regional Super 50 100 and the 3rd of his List A career, but had his effort upstaged by rain as the contest against Leeward Islands Hurricanes finished in a disappointing no result on Tuesday night. Jamaica Scorpions took command of the Group B encounter when Blackwood made exactly 100 to get them up to 299 for 6 at Kensington Oval. Opener John Campbell slammed 61, while Brandon King struck 44 and Andre McCarthy 42 to further bolster the innings. But Hurricanes managed just 5 balls of their reply without a run scored before the heavens opened, forcing players from the field. Officials attempted a restart 3/4 of an hour later, but rain returned before a ball could be bowled, ending the match prematurely. Despite the result, Scorpions remain top of Group B with 21 points, with Combined Campuses and Colleges Marooners and Barbados Pride both chasing on 15 points. Switching sports now, with just 5 more months before the Carifta Games takes center stage in the Cayman Islands, there's a cloud of uncertainty hanging over the event. Cayman 27 was at a press conference where members of the local organizing committee and the government signed a memorandum of understanding for the Games.
The cost will be at a minimum of $1.4 million. We have received $200,000 from the government thus far, which we have used to secure the hotel deposits.
And Christopher Taylor is closing.
a heavy price tag to host one of the region's premier amateur athletic competitions. But with government's financial backing, local organizers say they've secured naming rights to the event.
And so the games will be called the Cayman Islands Carifta Games 2019, or Carifta Track and Field Championships 2019.
Part of that agreement is a commitment to upgrade the facilities at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex, which include a new scoreboard and a warm-up track at the netball courts. A huge cost to government this sports minister was not interested in disclosing.
Because it is not relevant for today. What's relevant today, that there is 100% commitment that this will go on.
Okay.
And the reason why it's not relevant, I'm not being rude or cute, it's just that we have to go to the private sector. And if you go to the private sector and you need XY, when you tell them you have XY, you probably won't get the Y to make up the XY.
Co-chair Joel Francis, however, was a little more forthcoming.
And we'll be approaching the private sector within the next couple of weeks a little more aggressively, now that we've gotten to the point of signing the MOU, to be able to raise, we hope, somewhere in the region of about 400,000 in the local economy.
But with just 5 months to go and an estimated 500 athletes and 150 officials, not to mention the thousands of fans attending, will there even be enough room?
Will not be additional stands for spectators, no, but we will minimize the use of the stands that we have for officials, athletes, etc. So as I said, there'll be full access to the seating for spectators.
He cannot hold on.
The clock is ticking as the games approach.
And that's sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Again, the major developments of this day, the Organization for Economic and the OECD puts 9 Caribbean nations on a list of 21 countries with so-called golden passports or visas that are deemed a threat to efforts to combat tax evasion. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to CanaNews.com. For more of our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and subscribe to CaribVision's YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night.